Good afternoon, everybody. This is Don again. It is time for episode 36 of Practical Reality. 36 episodes and still rolling. I'm going to keep on rolling too. Here I am back in Donaldson Park. It's Labor Day weekend, Sunday. I don't know, maybe around 3:30 or 4 o'clock in the afternoon. I don't want to watch the time too closely. I don't want to be too exact on that. This is just happening in this moment. You can see behind me the trees are still green. There's a breeze blowing. The bugs are kind of all over the place, but I'm not getting bitten too badly right now. The river is behind me. This is a beautiful spot. This is why I come here to make these videos, because I think my thinking is probably most clear in a natural setting like this. I was here yesterday for about, I don't know, an hour and a half, just reading the book which I'm going to be speaking about in this video. And then I just sat for like a half an hour after that. So I read the book for like an hour and then sat for like a half an hour after that, just being here in this moment and absorbing the beautiful sound of the wind, watching the leaves, just breathing in and out, feeling the fullness of life, clearing the mind. And I think that's probably the most important effect of it. Clearing the mind, just being here in the moment, absorbing it all, feeling alive and connected. I think that is so incredibly important. So today's topic continues with your personal evolution. And my personal evolution is proceeding on course, I guess you might say. And I am reading, I'm not sure if I'm going to be able to see this here. Okay, so I have mentioned this book, The Way of the Superior Man by David Deida. I've mentioned this book before in other videos. And it's, I have not really taken the opportunity to read that many books over the past few years. Probably like 4 or 5 years since I actually read an entire book. I usually get, my information from social media, different channels. I don't really watch the traditional media news anymore, that kind of thing. I'm sick of that. It's all nothing but bad news, and it's all filtered and whitewashed, this kind of crap. So I don't actually pay attention to that. So since I was taking the train trip, I did read a book the entire way. Between the 18 hours down and the 18 hours back, I managed to finish a book. And it's called Careless People by Sarah Wynne Williams. And she was like a right-hand man to Mark Zuckerberg and Sheryl Sandberg. And I'm not going to speak too much about this, but basically that book, and the subtitle of the book was A Cautionary Tale of Greed and Power and Lost Idealism, something like that. And the cautionary tale part is very, very appropriate for that book, because it is a story of how exactly you should not act. The heartlessness and the utter carelessness which these people act with, having no regard for their employees or for the people whose lives they are affecting every single day. That is the very textbook definition of unconsciousness. And they're all doing it just to make more money. They're already richer than they could possibly imagine, richer than they could possibly spend in 5 generations, and yet they're still hungry for more. And that's a sickness. And that's a definition of how not to act. So, having read that book, and now having sort of fingered through The Way of the Superior Man on different occasions for use in my men's team, I decided to take the book seriously and read the entire thing, because I needed a break from the utter sensory blast in your face of careless people reading about how disgusting they are. So I wanted to read something that was more life affirming. So The Way of the Superior Man is definitely, it falls into that category. So I'm very glad I picked it up, and there are some certain pieces of advice that he gives in the book that I'm going to use today as the subject of this video. And thank you all for joining me here today. It's such a beautiful day, and I do hope that you people do pay attention to this. And even though the book is called The Way of the Superior Man, there is advice in here that applies to any person in any situation. So let's get started. First of all, a piece of advice not in The Way of the Superior Man would be for anyone. I hope you have a place like this for yourself to go to. on a regular basis. I find this park, and I've told people, many people, the same thing so many times. I don't move away from this area because this park is so perfect for me. You can do a lot of different things in this park, and I may have mentioned this in other videos. But, lately, I have been using this park to record my videos because it's a beautiful summer. The weather has been ideal for the past couple of weeks, except for the lack of rain, which concerns me. But, I usually sit right over here underneath the trees facing the river. But today I decided to switch positions and just sort of be here sitting at this picnic table speaking to you. But I hope that people can find a spot like this. Feel that breeze. I wish I could. You can't see the breeze except maybe the leaves behind me are moving and maybe my hair is moving too. But the breeze is just so refreshing. The air feels so good, and there are people walking by as I record this. And it's just wonderful to sit here and be here in this moment, to be able to share this with you, to share the peace that I feel, to share how wonderful it feels to be in such a beautiful spot. And it really makes me hope that everyone can find a spot like this to be, and just be in that spot. Thankful, and a sense of gratitude for the beauty of it and for the creation of it. That's a very important way of de-stressing, of decompressing, just sitting here, just hanging out. And this actually leads into my main discussion for today. The Way of the Superior Man is also, my reading of The Way of the Superior Man is also part of my CPR. We had our weekly meeting last week for the Men in the Arena team. And it was really about formulating a daily CPR. And I think I may have spoken about that in the last video, but we delved into it on a deeper level last week. And it's so important. It seems so obvious. I mean, what do you do on a daily basis? You wake up, you get right into your routine, and it might be 11:30 or 12 o'clock in the morning before you even realize what the hell you're doing. You may have gotten up, you may have eaten your breakfast, gotten dressed, taken a shower, boom, gone to work. You're sitting at your desk, or maybe if you work from home, whatever, you're sitting there working, and all of a sudden it's like midday, and you're like, whoa, you blink your eyes for a second, like, where did the last few hours go? You know what I mean? And you realize, of course, you've been alive for the last few hours and doing what you're doing, but have you actually been present in those past few hours? And the answer very often is no. So setting that daily CPR means that what you are doing for yourself is to establish a state of being or presence that will pervade, that will remain there, constant, throughout your day. And that is unprecedented as far as your own evolution is concerned. If you can manage to do that on a daily basis, now that is not easy, and I'm not saying that I'm doing it every day myself, but what I am saying is that it's a goal that you can set for yourself, and it's a realistic goal. Because remember, one of the main central themes of what I have said here on all of these videos is that the only thing that you can control is how you feel. Your own internal environment is the only thing that you truly can control. So if you can establish that control over that internal environment on a daily basis and start your day with a specific purpose in mind for how you are going to feel, then you are several steps ahead of most other people. So I started The Way of the Superior Man without knowing specifically what to expect. And I read like the dust jacket, that kind of thing. But actually, in only the first few chapters, it's been very eye-opening. And so much of what he says can be a part of your daily CPR. And there's where the tie-in is, okay? That's why I'm talking about this book, because the principles that he espouses in this book can be incorporated into your daily CPR rather easily. Maybe not so easily. For instance, the first principle that he speaks about, chapter 1. Now, the one thing I do love about this book so far is the chapters are nice and short. They're like maybe 2 or 3, 4 pages at the most. And that's because he's taking a simple point and expounding upon it. And just, he wants to make these chapters short just to make the point of what he's trying to say. There's nothing really more to say than each little piece of advice that he's giving. So that's why the chapters are nice and short. And the first one that he talks about, chapter 1, is about stop waiting for things to get better. Spend an hour a day doing exactly what you love. Now, is that always possible? Not for me, okay? Not so far, okay? But the principle behind it is absolutely 100% true, okay? If you're going to sit around saying, oh, you know something, I'm going to do this X when things are better, when I can slow down, when I have things more under control, blah, blah, blah. That's, how many times have you said that to yourself? How many times have I said that to myself? Years and years and years go by without actually doing the thing that you want to do, the thing you would know that you would love to do, and you don't do it. You are costing yourself. You are denying yourself. Now, I know, the immediate gratification generation is part of what I am about, you know what I mean? But, I would have to say the beginning of maturity or wisdom is knowing when you can do something and when you can't. However, what David Deida is saying here, that you have to know when enough time has been spent and you're not fulfilling your true purpose. And that happens to be, finding and fulfilling your true purpose happens to be, so far what I see, a central piece of advice of this book. He, talking to men, of course, but I think that applies to anyone, that if you don't find what your central purpose is, then you cannot ever live it. And you can never have a full, complete life until you find what your central purpose is. And your central purpose has nothing to do with material things, okay? That'll probably be in the next video. There was a spot in the book that he mentioned exactly what, it has nothing to do with blah, blah, blah. I don't remember exactly what he said. I don't want to get too far off on that tangent. But my point is that finding your true purpose is absolutely essential to feeling grounded and centered in your life. And that is so, so important. So, sitting there and saying to yourself that, yeah, I'm going to get to it eventually. When I have the time, I'll do this. I have certain things that I'd like to do. Like, I'd like to write poetry every day, this kind of thing. I'd like to coach a kid's basketball team. I would like to be in a band again, singing. I love that kind of stuff. But do I have the time for that kind of stuff? No. So that's a challenge. There's a challenge right there that I have for myself that I'm going to start working on to be able to do those things. Now, it says only spend an hour a day. So maybe some of the things I want to do take more than an hour. So maybe I do a little of them each day. There's probably not 3 things that you want to do every single day. However, I will say this. There are things that I do love to do that I spend time on, like going to the gym, I love, and playing tennis, I love, okay? Sitting here in the park, contemplating, meditating, I love. So I'm not completely lost. I have found some of the things that I am passionate about, and I am able to practice those. So I'm not completely lost. But I imagine that there probably are people out there who feel that their life is sucked up every day by work and by their responsibilities and their families and their children, this kind of thing, and they never get to do anything that they love to do. So therein lies a warning for you. If you're not getting to spend any time doing anything that you like to do, that you really love to do, something that you gave up for other responsibilities, then that's a warning sign for you that you are losing your way and losing your purpose. So I would try your best to try and regain that, and regain a sense of purpose and regain a sense of freedom to be able to do the things that you love on at least a couple of times a week. Now, the next piece of advice that he gives, and this is big for me, okay, and I'll explain why. And this is for men, obviously, and it might, it could apply to women. You know what I mean? If you're in, no matter, he actually does say it doesn't matter what kind of relationship you're in, whether you're gay or heterosexual, whatever. It doesn't make any difference. There's always a feminine and a masculine person in each relationship, demonstrating some certain characteristics that are more masculine, some that are more feminine. You know what I mean? So like I said, the next piece of advice he gives is, do not try to fix your woman. And I'll tell you, wow, that's a hard one for me. And I'll tell you exactly why it's hard for me, okay? I'm not some sort of Neanderthal who thinks my woman should be exactly, exactly the way I think she should be. My wife is Chinese, as I've said before. Okay, she comes from a completely different culture, and one of the things that she said to me when we first met was that she wanted me to help her be more American. However, it has not really proceeded that way according to plan, at least not the way I think. She has improved in like her use of English, and she has adapted some what I would probably call American customs or ways, but she still is very much Chinese. And her the bulk of her conversations are still conducted in Chinese, and she still thinks of herself as Chinese. There are certain, like I said, tendencies and customs that are American that she has taken up, but she is definitely still a Chinese woman. And that is hard, given the fact that she said she wanted me to help her become more American. That's a little hard for me to accept. However, it's really true. The more that I try, the more that I emphasize it, the more she resists. So it has to happen naturally, according to her own schedule, which is wow. Okay, that may take the rest of our lives. Who knows? But at the same time, I have to accept that. It's not that easy to accept. But because of, I'm only trying to help her, okay? I'm only trying to help her function better in American society. That's at least my overall reasoning. Whether or not that's actually true or not is another story. I may have some sort of unconscious motivation that I'm not really aware of. But at the same time, I feel like I have to let her be. I have to let her be who she is. And I can't keep on trying to fix her because it's not really fair to her. And she resists. She definitely does resist when I push too hard. And that's a source of tension. And that's not really fair to me. It's not fair to her. So that's another challenge that I have to undertake to become a better man, a superior man. And the final piece of advice that he gives in chapter 3 is also very powerful and very personal for me. And I know other people who also could benefit from listening to this. When something hurts you, when something bothers you, what happens to a lot of people? They shut down. They, like a turtle going into their shell as a defense mechanism. They withdraw, okay? And David Deida is saying, don't do that. Matter of fact, let me see if I can find the pages where he says that. Hold on. Page. Okay. The superior man practices opening during these times of automatic closure. Open the front of your body so your chest and solar plexus are not tense. Stretch out. You know what I mean? Extend your arms out. Stretch out. Be open and free. And then, where are we here? Sit or stand up straight and full, opening the front of your body, softening your chest and belly wide and free. Breathe deeply. Look directly into the eyes of the person you are with, feeling your own pain as well as feeling theirs of the other person. Only when the front of your body is relaxed and opened, your breath full and deep, and your gaze unguarded and directly connected with another person's eyes, can your fullest intelligence manifest spontaneously in this situation. To act as a superior man, the samurai of the relationship, you must feel the entire situation with your whole body. A closed body is unable to sense subtle cues and signals, and therefore unable to act with mastery in the situation. And I have to say that I have experienced that type of closure before, where I just want to, 20 years ago, I had severe case of depression, where I laid on my couch all day and shook with anxiety for hours at a time. Thank God that period of my life is over. But even still, there are times when I feel a personal hurt and I do shut down for a couple of hours, even if it's just 2 or 3 hours. I shut down. I want to do anything. I waste a day. That's basically what it comes down to. And at 64 years old, there aren't that many days to waste. I should not be feeling that way. I should not allow myself to feel that way anymore. And that advice that he gives is extremely, extremely powerful from a personal perspective. So that's a third challenge that I'm taking upon myself. And I think it's wonderful. What is your personal evolution? How are you going to grow? You have to challenge yourself. You have to become uncomfortable. And if being uncomfortable means, I should say it the other way around, being uncomfortable means challenging yourself to step out of that comfort zone. And if you are going to do that, then these kind of little pieces of advice that are incredibly simple, yet incredibly powerful, are going to be the stepping stones upon which you grow. And I think that's extremely important to everyone to recognize that these things are not that hard. They're simple concepts. The difficulty that becomes attached to them is what you place upon it in your own mind. If you think it's going to be difficult, if you think it's going to be impossible, if you don't think you can do it, then you certainly won't be able to. If you see it as a challenge that you can overcome, that's just going to take a little work and a little step outside of your comfort zone, then you can do it. It's as simple as that. It's the control of the internal environment. Who is in control of your internal environment? Are you, or are you letting your world do it for you? And if you are, as David Deida would probably agree with me, you are not living your highest purpose. Your highest purpose is to contribute to this world, doing something that you love in the way that you love to do it. And if you are not doing that, then you are not living your highest purpose. So that is the challenge for everyone, man, child, or woman. No matter what you are, no matter where you are, no matter what color you are, no matter what you believe otherwise, you can be anything that you want if you put your mind to it and control your own internal environment to have a state of mind that shows you or tells you that you can overcome any obstacle that stands in your way. Thank you very much for listening to this video. I hope everyone has a beautiful, joyful, prosperous day, and that you can find a spot as beautiful as this to sit in and just feel the beauty, the nature of life. Peace, happiness, and prosperity, and of course, like, comment, and subscribe. Thank you all. Have a great day.